Picture this, you're sitting on the world's biggest treasure chest, but every time you try to open it, someone slaps your hand away. That's essentially Iran's economic story in a nutshell. Iran finds itself in one of the most fascinating and frustrating economic positions on the planet. It's like being the richest person in town who can't access their bank account. The country possesses extraordinary natural wealth, a highly educated population of over 80 million people, and sits at the crossroads of 3 continents. Yet despite all these advantages, Iran's economy remains trapped in a cycle that seems almost impossible to break. Let me paint you a picture of just how paradoxical this situation really is. Iran controls the 2nd largest natural gas reserves globally and holds the 4th largest oil reserves. That's enough energy to power entire continents for decades. The country's geographic position couldn't be more strategic. It's like nature designed the perfect trade hub, connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa through some of the world's busiest shipping lanes. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. While Iran's neighbors across the Persian Gulf, countries like the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait, enjoy prosperity that allows their citizens to live in air-conditioned luxury, Iran's people face rolling blackouts despite sitting on virtually unlimited energy reserves. It's like starving while working in a bakery. The roots of this economic maze stretch back over 4 decades. Since 1979, Iran has operated under layers of international sanctions that have essentially created an invisible wall around the country's economy. These aren't just simple trade restrictions. They're comprehensive barriers that make doing business with Iran so risky that most companies won't even consider it. Think about it this way. Imagine trying to run a business where 90% of potential customers are forbidden from buying your products and the banks won't process your payments. That's the reality Iranian businesses face every single day. Companies that dare to trade with Iran risk being cut off from the American market, American banks, and the global financial system that processes trillions of dollars in transactions daily. This brings us to what I call Iran's energy paradox. The country that should be the world's energy superpower can barely keep its own lights on. During scorching summers when temperatures soar above 40 degrees Celsius, Iranian cities experience blackouts that can last for hours. Factories shut down, air conditioners fall silent, and daily life grinds to a halt, all in a country with enough natural gas to supply Europe for centuries. You might wonder how this is even possible. The answer lies in a perfect storm of mismanagement, outdated infrastructure, and the unintended consequences of good intentions. Iran heavily subsidizes energy for its citizens, making electricity and gasoline incredibly cheap. On the surface, this sounds generous, like a government taking care of its people. But in practice, it creates a system where energy is so inexpensive that people waste it without thinking twice. Imagine if water cost almost nothing in your city. You probably wouldn't bother fixing leaky faucets or taking shorter showers. That's exactly what happens with energy in Iran. The subsidies meant to help people have instead created massive inefficiency and opened the door to widespread smuggling operations. Here's where things get really interesting. Iran's gasoline is so heavily subsidized that it costs roughly 5 cents per liter. That's about 17 cents per gallon. Compare that to prices in neighboring countries where the same gasoline sells for $2 or $3 per gallon, and you've got yourself a smuggling operation that practically runs itself. Enterprising individuals load up trucks with subsidized Iranian fuel and drive it across the border, making profits of 2,000% or more. This creates a bizarre situation where some of Iran's most successful energy exports happen in the back of pickup trucks rather than through official pipelines and tankers. It's like running a multinational corporation out of a garage sale. The currency situation adds another layer to this economic puzzle. Iran officially claims its currency trades at around 42,000 rials to the dollar, but the reality on the street tells a completely different story. People are so desperate to get their hands on stable foreign currency that they'll pay 20 times the official rate. This means the real purchasing power of Iranian money is a fraction of what the government claims. When economists calculate Iran's economic output, they often use these official exchange rates, which makes the country appear more prosperous than it actually is. It's like measuring someone's height with a ruler that's been stretched out. The numbers look good on paper, but they don't reflect reality. This brings us to one of the most energy-inefficient economies ever recorded. Iran uses more energy per person than Denmark, a wealthy European country, but produces only 1/5 the economic output. It's like burning through gasoline while going nowhere. The country consumes energy like a developed nation, but generates wealth like a struggling developing economy. Now, you might think Iran's nuclear ambitions make more sense when you learn about their energy problems. After all, if you can't efficiently use your oil and gas, maybe nuclear power could help. But here's the thing. Iran doesn't have an energy shortage problem. They have an energy management problem. Building nuclear reactors to solve inefficient energy distribution is like buying more cars when the problem is that your roads are full of potholes. The international community looks at this situation with considerable skepticism. When a country with virtually unlimited fossil fuel reserves insists it needs nuclear power for electricity generation, it raises obvious questions about true intentions. It's like someone with a fully stocked refrigerator insisting they need to hunt for food. Technically possible, but it makes you wonder what they're really up to. Iran's leadership faces what economists call a political economy trap. Every potential solution to the country's economic problems requires changes that threaten someone's interests. Remove energy subsidies and people riot in the streets. Open up to international business and hardline political groups cry betrayal. Crack down on corruption, and powerful people lose their income streams. This creates a situation where maintaining the status quo becomes the path of least resistance, even when everyone knows the current system isn't working. It's like being stuck in a traffic jam where every possible exit ramp looks more dangerous than just sitting still. The human cost of this economic paralysis is staggering. Iran experiences one of the world's highest rates of brain drain, with educated young people leaving whenever they can find opportunities abroad. The country's universities produce engineers, doctors, and scientists who then take their skills to places where they can actually use them productively. Imagine spending years training Olympic athletes only to watch them compete for other countries because they can't find proper facilities at home. That's essentially what Iran does with human capital. It invests heavily in education, but can't create an economic environment where talented people want to stay. The demographic trends make this even more concerning. Iran's birth rate has collapsed to levels typically seen in wealthy developed countries, but without the economic development that usually accompanies such transitions. The population is aging rapidly while young, productive workers emigrate in search of better opportunities. This creates a vicious cycle where the people most capable of fixing the economy are the ones most likely to leave. It's like trying to repair a sinking ship while the crew keeps jumping overboard. International sanctions play a crucial role in maintaining this dysfunctional equilibrium. While these sanctions were designed to pressure Iran into changing its behavior, they've also created a system where various players benefit from the status quo. Chinese companies get access to heavily discounted Iranian oil. Smuggling networks make enormous profits moving goods in and out of Iran. Even some Iranian officials benefit from controlling access to scarce imported goods. The sanctions have essentially created a shadow economy where the rules are different and the profit margins are enormous. It's like prohibition in the 1920s. The intended policy created opportunities for those willing to operate outside the law. Meanwhile, ordinary Iranians bear the cost. They face limited job opportunities, restricted access to international markets, and an economy that seems designed to waste rather than maximize their country's incredible natural advantages. Iran's membership in OPEC adds another layer of complexity. While you might think oil-producing countries would band together to help each other, the reality is more complicated. Other OPEC members benefit when Iran can't sell its oil freely because it means less competition and higher prices for everyone else. It's like being part of a trade association where your colleagues are secretly happy when you can't compete. The country's political structure makes reform particularly challenging. Power is distributed among various institutions and individuals who often have competing interests. Religious authorities, military leaders, elected officials, and business networks all have different priorities and different ideas about how the economy should work. This distributed power structure means that even when everyone agrees change is necessary, building consensus around specific reforms becomes incredibly difficult. It's like trying to steer a ship with multiple captains, each holding a different piece of the wheel. Recent years have brought additional challenges that make Iran's economic situation even more precarious. The global shift toward renewable energy threatens the long-term value of oil reserves. Climate change policies in major economies are reducing demand for fossil fuels. Even if sanctions were lifted tomorrow, Iran would still face the challenge of building an economy for a world that increasingly wants to move beyond oil. The country needs to diversify its economy, but diversification requires exactly the kinds of international business relationships that sanctions make impossible. It's like being told you need to learn new skills while being locked in a room with no teachers or textbooks. Technology adds another dimension to Iran's challenges. The modern economy increasingly depends on access to advanced semiconductors, software platforms, and international digital payment systems, all areas where sanctions create particular difficulties. Iranian businesses find themselves cut off from the digital tools that companies in other countries take for granted. So what would it take to break this cycle? Economic theory suggests several potential paths, but each comes with enormous political risks. Subsidy reform could improve efficiency but would likely trigger social unrest. Opening to international business could boost growth but might threaten existing power structures. Tackling corruption could unlock resources but would create powerful enemies. The most promising scenarios involve gradual, carefully managed transitions that give various stakeholders time to adapt. But gradual change requires exactly the kind of political stability and long-term thinking that Iran's current system struggles to provide. Looking ahead, Iran's economic dilemma represents more than just a national challenge. It's a case study in how political constraints can trap countries in suboptimal economic arrangements. The tools to fix Iran's economy exist, the resources are certainly available, and the human capital is extraordinary. What's missing is a political pathway that allows these elements to work together effectively. The tragedy is that Iran's economic potential remains as vast as ever. The country could become a major hub for trade between Europe and Asia. Its educated population could drive innovation in technology and services. Its energy resources could power sustainable development for decades to come. But realizing this potential requires breaking free from the economic trap that has defined Iran for over 40 years. Whether that happens through gradual reform, dramatic change, or continued stagnation, remains one of the most important unanswered questions in global economics. The story of Iran's economy is ultimately a reminder that having resources doesn't guarantee prosperity, and that the most binding constraints are often political rather than economic. It's a puzzle that continues to challenge economists, policymakers, and the Iranian people themselves as they navigate the complex intersection of domestic politics and global economics. For now, Iran remains the wealthy country that can't access its wealth, the energy superpower that can't keep its lights on, and the strategically located nation that finds itself increasingly isolated. Breaking free from this paradox may be one of the 21st century's most complex economic challenges.